All right, let's talk about one of the most important fundraising, filmmaking tips that I think is necessary for indie filmmaking: your crowd. There's an old saying that we should write indie films from the resources that we have. So we think about actors that we know, we think about locations that we know, we think about, how are we going to find the wardrobe for this, what donations can we get, etc. But a lot of times, what I end up seeing is people writing what they think is a movie that they can make based on the physical resources, but the budget is not something that their crowd or that their financial resources can support. So it does you no good to write a $20,000 short film or a $50,000 feature film if your crowd can really only support a $2,000 or a $5,000 fundraise through crowdfunding platforms. So there are a lot of different ways to think about it, but this is one of the most important indie tips that I think is necessary. So, how do we think about your crowd? So, I think of it as like a reverse bullseye where you are in the center, and the people in the kind of red and inner rings right outside of you are your family and friends, the people very close to you, and they're essentially the people that you can twist their arm and beg and make them feel super guilty about not giving you money, and they will want to give you money because they love you and they support you and they want to support your project, kind of no matter what your project is. They're just there to help support you. And so that's kind of your inner crowd. And those people are key to fundraising, especially when you're doing crowdfunding platforms, because one of the markers of success is to raise 30% in the first 3 days, first week of your crowdfunding campaign, if it's like a 30-day campaign. And you really want that 30% to be taken care of by your closest friends and family and the people that you can say, hey, I need you to contribute $100 on day one, and give them a deadline and give them instructions. And so that's kind of one aspect. And then the next ring out are your peers, your coworkers, your friends of friends, the people that are kind of easy to connect with through organizations or volunteer work or church, whatever you're involved in. These are people that you feel comfortable talking to about what it is that you're working on, and ask them, directly, hey, can you contribute to my project? And then the outer rings, the black and the white rings, are the organizations, the companies, the friends of friends of friends, the 6 degrees of separation that get you to somebody who has $10,000 to give or $20,000 to give, or who wants to invest $100,000 in your feature film. But it takes your network to get to those outer rings, and it takes research to get to those outer rings. Nobody just falls into somebody who has a lot of money and asks them, hey, I need a lot of money, and gets it immediately. You have to kind of work at it and take time. So it's very hard when you're in the middle of a 30-day campaign to try and find large pools of money while you are also actively campaigning, because it just takes time. Nobody wants to be, hustled up for money when they just met you. So all of that stuff is relationship based. And in terms of those outer rings, other things to think about are like, what are the themes of your movie, who is the target audience, what are some of the kind of niche audiences that you can tap into, and just kind of brainstorm about that. And then research, what are the social media groups, so what are the organizations that support those kinds of themes or topics or people, or where do these people hang out? Go to those places, introduce yourself, all that stuff. So that's key. But one of those things, out of all of that stuff, when you think about all of these people that you've that you want to target, especially the people that you know directly in those inner rings, your friends, your family, your coworkers, list them out and put a number next to them and think about, oh, okay, I feel comfortable asking for $100 here, but so and so, they're going through a hard time, so I'm not going to ask for money. I'm just going to ask them to help spread the word. And so, I think, might actually be interested in investing or contributing at a large amount, like $1,000, and I feel comfortable asking them that. And add that up. See what your crowdfunding bottom line is. If you think reasonably that you can get all these people to give you $10,000, well, then a $15,000 crowdfunding campaign seems reasonable, because you still have to kind of hustle for the extra 5%, but you feel like within the work, and not everybody's going to give, and some will give more than you expected. There's a lot of like leeway, but you feel like that's kind of a risk assessment and a risk ratio that you feel comfortable with. But if your crowd can support $10,000 and you're like, I'm making a $100,000 movie, how are you going to make that kind of leap? And I see it a lot, and it's why the statistics, if you look at it, film and video is the number one failing category in Kickstarter, and there's something like 20% of Kickstarter projects that never get a single dollar in film and video. So it's a heavy lift. And even at the end of the day, Kickstarter's success rate for film and video is like 40%. Seed and Spark has a better success rate. And there are a lot of reasons why that I'll go into another time. But again, I think a lot of this has to do with the planning and the preparation, and giving yourself that time to really think about, who can I target? Who is my crowd? How much can they support for my filmmaking? And that is your indie filmmaking tip. All right, hope this was helpful, and good luck.